2021 is finally here, guys, and you know what that means, don't you? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, the first of 2021. So a very happy new year to you guys. Hope you guys behaved last night. I hope you guys were up early enough to watch this. But you know what? A lot of you, it's probably almost like January 2nd at this point. I learned that a lot because our read-along did start, which I'll talk about here, obviously, in a second. And a lot of people were like, hey, I already started. And I'm like, but it's like 8 a.m. on like December the 31st, but not where they were. So, things are interesting in the future. But let's begin like we always do, guys. Let's talk about what am I reading. I did finish reading the Kings of Paradise by Richard Nell. This is the first book in a trilogy, which is complete, by the way, Ash and Sand. I don't know about when I'm going to be reviewing it. I will. Schedule's just kind of up in the air right now, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But I'll be giving it a review soon. But if you want just like a quick one, I talked about it in the live stream that I did the other day. That very, very good start. I am very anxious to see where these characters end up going forward. So I need to actually find myself a copy of books 2 and 3. I haven't actually done that yet, but with the Malazan thing that's going on right now, I don't know when that'll be. But I am very anxious to get back to this world. So if you want to check out the author, Richard Nell, he's very engaging on Twitter, and he will actually talk to you quite a bit about what the series is about. Because I've had some people ask me, "Hey, can you give me a sales job?" Go to Richard. He can give you a better sales job than I can. Just what I said is, it's probably the most bleak, grimdark kind of world I've visited since The First Law and A Song of Ice and Fire. And I mean that in a good way, guys. Those are things that I like. So very, very interested in seeing where it goes next. I think you guys know what the next one that I am reading is. Finally, it's finally here, guys. Gardens of the Moon. I picked it up this morning. Was able to fight it off until New Year's Day. I picked it off this morning. I did the prologue and the chapter 1 before I recorded this. You can see there. Yeah, see, I know there's people who are accusing me of cheating, and I don't know why. I could have started earlier if I wanted to, but anyway, grown-ass man, do what I want, right? But very, very interesting stuff already off the bat with those opening 2 segments of that book. Let's go ahead and move into what am I going to read. Obviously, guys, it's going to be all about Gardens of the Moon for a while. I have actually scheduled myself 2 weeks to read this. I know you think, hey, that's not that big of a book. Why so long? I think with Malazan, I don't know if it's just because it's been built up so much or what. I just want to make sure that I'm giving myself the room to breathe. I know that there's going to be sections of this I'm going to want to reread because I've heard this book is a lot to take in. After reading the first 2 parts of it, I can see why people feel this way. I don't feel like it's been quite just like too much. Like, what in the world, yet? But I can definitely see I've already, through a prologue in chapter 1, I've already wrote down a few dozen names. So I'm just want to take my time with it, make sure I'm getting everything, and make sure I provide space to actually, let stuff decompress. And like I said, provide some space to reread some stuff. Then I'll be cleaning the palette with Revival by Stephen King. It's one of those Stephen King ones I have not read. That is not for Into the Multiverse. I'm still doing those in order. This is just one that I don't want to wait for 3 years to get to it before I get to it into the multiverse. So I just want to kind of cut forward. I felt like I needed a good palette cleanser between that and Robin Hobb, which I'll be doing after that. But yeah, it's one I'm very excited about. I've heard a lot of people, including my guy Jaime Fuego from Horror Show. He has said it's one of his finest horror tales, since probably the 80s, and that's awesome. That's like Audible Viagra to me to hear something like that. Right? Stephen King going back to his horror roots. Sign me up. Heard a lot of Lovecraftian themes attached to it. So. Yeah, I think The Mist is probably the last one of Stephen King's that I read that it kind of touched anything like that. So I'm excited to see what the old man has in store for me there. That's just one that I kind of missed during my breakup period with Stephen King. But most of you know that story by now. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened this week on the channel. I started all of my end of the year content. Apparently you guys like it because there was a lot of traffic on the channel this week. I did my most anticipated books of 2021. Not as many books coming out next year as I thought, at least that I could think of. I started thinking about it. I was like, are there any Oh, besides anything that might be like under the radar, there might be something that comes out that I had no idea I was going to read, and that might actually happen. But with this, it was just like I couldn't think of authors with new series. I mean, there was a couple, John Gwynne, Sebastian de Castell, and then there's the ones I'm hoping that some of the some of the series get finished off, like Red Rising. Stephen King puts out something new. It's got to get my attention, and of course, Joe Abercrombie closing off First Law. So I felt like there was plenty to talk about there, but I feel like I'm going to revisit that and be like, yeah, I had no idea all the new things I was going to read in 2021. Something I did know about was my top 10 books of 2020. That list was harder to make than you guys think. It was one of the things I read 73, and I actually got the number wrong. It was 74 books. Someone pointed out, didn't you read Mistborn Secret History? And yeah, it wasn't on my list. So apparently I read 74. Anyways, 74 books, narrowing that down to just 10 was a lot harder. I did have like 3 or 4, 5, I think 5 honorable mentions just real quick there, because, who doesn't do stuff like that when you cheat? But as far as the 10 goes, I still feel very, very proud and confident of where I put everything. I thought it was a pretty interesting list with some surprises in there. It sucks when I did like my top 10 fantasy series and people guessed 9 out of 10 of them. So there was actually some surprises in there. I think most people who've been constant watchers for all of 2020 knew pretty much the books I was going to have on there, but some of the authors, some of the picks I had that actually kind of surprised them a little bit, like especially the Sanderson one. I think that one really surprised a lot of people, but it was a lot of fun. Every time you talk about the best books that you read in a year, it's always a lot of fun. It's not as much fun, at least for me, when you got to talk about your most disappointing books of the year. Now, that was a video, I don't want to rehash what I said last week, but that was a video that I made more out of like a FU to some authors that were picking on a certain booktuber for putting out this list, and I was just like, since when do you guys get to tell content creators who do this for free what we can make? We're not critics. We don't work for the publishing company. We can talk about what we want to talk about. That's kind of the thing. And if we're to the point where we can't even give criticism to people, you might need to take a look in the mirror and get over yourself. So that was really just kind of made out of, like I said, almost like a protest. And then I closed out all that stuff with my end of the year live streams, kind of like a celebration of 35K, but also just kind of closing it off. I don't try to do the live stream thing too much. I know a lot of bigger channels like to do them a lot more frequently because they hit milestones quicker than I do. They're hitting another 10,000, 15, 25,000 much more frequently than I do. So it's something that I just kind of want to do once in a while. And I'd rather do like I did with that one, where I talk for 3 hours. And that's why my voice is shaky right now. Talk for 3 hours and do it once in a while instead of talking for an hour and doing it, 2-3 times a month. I'd rather not get into that. I'd like them to still be like events. So the next one, hopefully, is 50K. I had one of the big questions I had there was, what's your goals for this year? Look, if you had told me at December of last year that I'd hit 35,000, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. So with this, I don't know. I'm just kind of taking it as it goes now. I'm having a ton of fun still. I'm glad that so many of you have jumped on board. I love to see the growth on the channel, of course, who wouldn't? But again, as long as there's I got a lot of people on this read along and stuff with me right now, and it's just going to be a fun year. So I'm just going to kind of focus on that, and however the channel grows or finally hit the ceiling, it's all fine with me. I've already exceeded my expectations internally with this channel, so I am excited about that. And of course, I did go ahead and kick off that reread of Malazan. I did talk about it was something I kind of wanted to put out there, like that firing of the gun in the air, that it's time to go. But really, it was more, a lot of people were kind of approaching this like it was a chore almost. And I just wanted to make sure that people were, look, guys, it's supposed to be fun. Reading is supposed to be fun. Don't do it if you're going to hate read it. So I just kind of want to remind people to have fun. I felt like a lot of people were approaching it like it was a job or something. So the best thing about doing this as a big community like we are is I'm not saying this isn't going to be the only time anyone ever does a giant read along for something like Malazan. But I think for right now, I don't think that there's a better time to do it because there's so many people involved. You got so many first timers as well as so many rereaders that are kind of there to help provide a guiding hand if you're getting a little stuck or struggle. So it was not really a sales job, really, for people to join, because I think we've got enough people joining, and more of you are always welcome. Obviously, if you want to join, jump on the Discord. The link is in the description below. But it's just one of those things that I think that this is a great opportunity if it's something that you've wanted to do for a while. But I don't want you to do it if you feel like you've got to. I want everybody to have a good time with this. Don't approach it like it's your duty. It's something that you want to do. I want to do this, and I'm thankful I got so many people ready to jump on board with me. Let's go ahead and talk about some next week stuff. It's going to be a lot of house cleaning. you get the big reset when you start a new year. Kind of how you had all your end of the week stuff or end of the year stuff last week. Kind of all your beginning of the year stuff. A little bit more house cleaning to kind of wrap up 2020. I do want to look at, like I usually do, wrap up the month of December. But I also want to go ahead and wrap up the year of 2020. Look at some of my, some of my best videos, some of my most well-received stuff, things like that. I think that that's always kind of fun to look back on, and be like, oh, how the hell do these Kindle videos get so many views? Things like that. But I'll also be doing my winter TBR. I don't like to do the TBR list every single month. I like to just do it by season. So this will be January, February, March. That's kind of the way I like to do it. I put these up on the Discord already, but if you aren't on the Discord, it'll be a good way for you to kind of just see what I do have planned, and then get to, by April, jump on me if I don't stick to it, because other people love to do that. And another little surprise next week, a gentleman that you might have heard of, Nicholas Eames, that is the author of Kings of the Wild, has actually reached out and asked if he would mind. If I would mind chatting with him, and I said, absolutely, why would I not like to chat with you? He saw the Jim Butcher and the Christopher Rockio interview and said, hey, I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk about things. So we're going to have a nice little discussion sometime next week. I dropped on the community tab if you guys want any questions that you want me to ask. I'm going to be talking to him Tuesday morning. So if you guys see that, you got 3 days now, 3 or 4 days to jump onto the community tab on the channel page. Fire a question off. It doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be about Kings of the Wild. It can be about anything. I mean, most of the questions I'm getting in there are music questions, Van Halen, Van Hagar, things like that. All the fun stuff that I think that book actually presented. So if there's something you want me to ask him, this is your best chance to get that question answered, because the only thing I'm going to ask him is, what's your favorite Led Zeppelin song? Things like that. Well, creating Saga was really cool. I told you guys, those interviews go over well because I ask you guys questions. I don't come up with these questions. So I saw those interviews have went over so well. But guys, that's pretty much all I got for Book Talk this week. There are a couple of TV and movie things. Wonder Woman 84, guys, it wasn't that good. Now, I this is, again, it's my opinion. I don't think it's as bad as the internet would have you believe. I still feel like there's a lot of MCU gatekeeping there, so they feel like they've got to absolutely hate anything that anyone else makes. I don't do that. Huge DC Comics fan. I just haven't really cared for what they've done, but I did like the first Wonder Woman. This one is about an hour too long, and some of the decisions made. I felt like they took one of the most iconic DC villains, and Maxwell Lord, and just made him a joke. As much as I love Pedro Pascal, it was the wrong decision. I think what the decisions that they made really age a movie like that. Sometimes you look back at some of the James Bond movies and they always try to stay relevant with what was at the times. And it's kind of aged some of them poorly. And I think that was a bad idea that they chose some of those things that they did in there. But, yeah. No, that wasn't what I was looking for at all. I still think Gal Gadot's great. I think Patty Jenkins is a great director. I'm excited to see what she does with Star Wars, hopefully. But I'm still at that place where I'm like, I just wish that they would reboot and just start over. I know Wonder Woman's success was the main reason they didn't, and now it seems like they're just leaning hard back into the Zack Snyder stuff. And I was like, that's just not what I'm looking for. So if you guys liked Wonder Woman, I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it. It was painfully mediocre is where I would put it. So, yeah. How'd you guys feel about it? I didn't have as much problems with Cheetah. I didn't have as much problems with the CGI as everyone else. I liked, obviously, the aesthetic. Anything set in the 80s is going to get my attention. It just, I don't know. It was just... it was a miss for me. But on the other hand, Soul, Pixar's Soul was really good. We watched that as a family night, Christmas evening. Was it the day after? I can't know. All these days are kind of bleeding together to me right now. But Pixar's, let's be honest here. Pixar's pretty much automatic at this point. I feel like they find a way to hit a formula where it doesn't feel formulaic, and they always find a way where you're like, all right, I got that wall up. You're not going to get me this time. Oh, damn it, you got me. Yeah, lot of heart and obviously soul. It's not an accident there, but I do notice that adults always have a lot of hot takes about Pixar movies, so I wanted to make sure I added mine. It's always all these hot takes about Pixar movies. I'm like, you guys know that's for our kids, not for us, right? But I love that it's always something that's not, oh God, I gotta watch this with my kid. Because look, guys, I'll be the truthful with you. If you haven't had kids yet, there's a lot of times you're going to watch stuff you don't want to watch. You're doing it for the kids. But the Pixar movie, it's never twist my arm things. Oh yeah, let's watch that. That should be good. Except Toy Story 3. I'm never watching that again, you bastards. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I definitely am not in the HBO Max versus Disney Plus thing. I don't even think about things like that, guys. I want all the good products. I could care less. We're the consumer. We don't care about stuff like that. But if you are grading it off that, Disney won this round because Soul coming out at the same time as Wonder Woman. Soul was the much, much better movie and one I would probably revisit again because I enjoyed it. Speaking of Disney Plus, you guys know I did talk about Mandalorian last week. Still in the news, obviously, a very big hit, very successful season finale, I think. I'm still not going to spoil it, don't worry. I talked spoilers last week's weekly update if you want to see that. But a lot of stuff has kind of hit the fan about it. You know, it was very well received by new fans and old. And so, of course, that slug, Pablo Hidalgo, had to come out and start attacking fans that were emotional about a certain character showing up in the finale. Star Wars Theory, if you guys have been on YouTube and look for Star Wars All, you've probably seen Star Wars Theory, very popular YouTube channel. I feel like he's actually found some redeeming qualities out of the sequel trilogy, whereas most from that age range have not. But he didn't like The Last Jedi at all because of the way that a certain character was treated. You probably know where I'm going with this. So he was very happy to see basically that redemption. Like I said, I felt like it was an apology for that movie. And he's been an ardent defender of that. Pablo Hidalgo has been one who's just ever since the Disney acquisition, has just been a complete turd to old Star Wars fans. Basically told us that the EU didn't matter, you know, things like that. Just really negative. And I've said the whole thing since this Disney acquisition that I just don't understand from a business standpoint. What benefit is there in attacking your fans that buy merch, your fans that buy toys, your fans that buy video games, all that stuff, the fans that buy like 18 different editions of the same movies? What is the point of attacking them? It's just bad business. And the rumor had been that the mandate going forward with this was that Lucasfilm was not allowing their employees to attack fans anymore. And I think it might be true now. Because after he did this, apparently Lucasfilm reached out to him, and basically Pablo Hidalgo was forced to apologize to Star Wars Theory. So it's not a thing where anybody's got a guard dog for Star Wars Theory. He's a big boy. He can take care of himself. I mean, he's got like 3 million subscribers. Plenty of people are fighting for him. I think that's fine. My thing really is I've been saying for a while now that Pablo Hidalgo was just a slug. Couldn't stand him. And a lot of people in that, I think it was my Star Wars EU video, or it was my Thrawn trilogy video, where I said Pablo Hidalgo could die in a fire, and a lot of people got mad at me. Well, this is why. Because he's just not a nice person, and I don't understand how he has that job that any of us would love to have, because it makes no sense. You're working for one of the biggest companies in the world. Why should you be allowed to talk to your customers like that? It's just bad business. So I didn't mind seeing him get slapped down a little bit, and well, you know, I never want anything bad to happen to anybody, but I wouldn't be upset. The Expanse, guys, Season 5. I went ahead and started, and what do you know? It's still excellent. It's really turning into Amos season, and that's a thing that I am here for. Again, I haven't read this far into the series, so this is all new stuff to me. I don't know how well it's following the books. I know that the Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank do write on the series, so I know that they have always stayed really true to the books, but I know that there's a lot of people who think that Nemesis Games and Babylon Ashes is the best part of the series, and so far, the first 5 episodes, that is true. Very, very good stuff. It continues to just look more and more impressive. The special effects, the Amazon money that's being poured into it now, look awesome. I know a lot of people thought that Season 4 was kind of but from what I understand, Book 4 was kind of so I think this might be a little more what you're looking for. It is kind of a risk because you are taking the 4 members of the Rocinante and you're kind of splitting them up over the season, and they're kind of doing like their side quest thing. But from what I understand, it's because Book 6, they all kind of like come back together. That's just kind of what I've gathered. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I feel like it's the personal background journey for each character that we haven't gotten up to this point. Only complaint that I have is I need me more some of Basarala, because every time she's on screen, it is awesome, and there are F-bombs to be had. So, guys, my plan for the rest of the day is to read some Malazan and to binge Season 3 of Cobra Kai. What are you guys doing on this New Year's Day? Drop in the comments. Let me know what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're playing, what you're listening to. What'd you get for Christmas? What'd you do for New Year's? Did you stay safe? All those things, guys. I am looking forward to a very exciting 2021. I will talk to you guys next week. Have a great weekend.